Welcome back to the Mom Curious podcast. And I'm talking to you, dear listener, but I'm also talking to Jenny Moness, who was one of the very first people to say yes, to come on the show, to share your very beautiful experience. We laughed, we cried. Season 1. The episode is unfortunately named IVF because at the time we just didn't really know the flow of these things. And I'm not even sure how to rename the episode because it was so much more than that. You talked about your fertility struggles with Tess, who is now 7, and then your oopsies baby, Nell, who's a full-fledged human being at 5 years old. We talked about how we both just love the shit out of these kids and wanted so badly for them to get along, and it was like one of the most beautiful moments. I was still working for you at the time at Union Square Play as early childhood educator, making a huge mess. You can check out our episode on Jenny's podcast, We Didn't Turn Out Okay, where we do go into what a huge mess I would make at Union Square Play and why it was best for me to just exit stage left.
No, we still miss those messes.
Oh, it was a great time. It really was a great time. It's a beautiful place. I'm going to do a proper introduction, but I wanted to just say thank you for coming back and thank you for all that you're doing in this world. Jenny Moness is an early childhood resource and educator. So you can find her on Instagram, where she really guides young parents toward gentle and respectful parenting through her own lens and her own perspective as a mother of 2 young girls, and also as an early childhood educator. You have your master's in early childhood education.
Yes, psychology and education, yeah.
And that for sure is like obvious when you listen to Jenny's podcast, We Didn't Turn Out Okay. Your psychology degree is really being used very well. I feel like it's a lot of therapy sessions. It's
my
sweet.
husband would say the same thing.
Oh, because you analyze him all the time?
Oh, constantly.
You're also an entrepreneur. I mentioned Union Square Play, where I had the absolute privilege of working for a little bit. You're a co-founder there, and you have this new endeavor as the founder and creator of Charmspring.
Yeah, co-founder.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So you play well with others. That's good to know.
Yes, I'd like to say that I'm a creative, and so I really play well with others who have different skill sets or are also creatives, but definitely complement my lack of kind of executive functioning skills.
I would never, ever, ever have thought that.
And it's why I feel passionately about what Charmspring does. It's a visual routine board for kids. I sort of say it's the Google Calendar for children and families because the entire family benefits. And it really breaks apart tasks and parts of routine into digestible steps for kids. You know, we're often like, let's get ready, or we gotta go.
Or you're like, get ready, put on your shoes. I said it how many times? Yeah. Come on. I said, do you hear me? Sometimes I call my kids names. I'm like, Ness, Sam, Charles. Yeah. And he gets really annoyed.
I love that.
I don't know. I think it's funny, but I'm also like, am I teasing him? I can't tell
if it's in abuse. A moment of like...
I say abuse and I'm totally joking. That's a joke. That's a joke. Haha. Go on.
If it's in a moment when they're really frustrated or something, fine. But if it's in a moment like, do you even hear me? I love that. I'm going to use that.
Yeah.
My kids would... Because it's all about like, sometimes when they don't respond, or often, I always think it's about, I just want to connect. If I just obey or listen to you right now, like I'm missing, and subconsciously, I don't think they consciously are like, I want the warmth and comfort of connection time, but I think they're just like, I don't want to just listen passively. Like I want you to either help me do it, which is another way of wanting connection, or just like have some fun around, give a moment, instead of just us like kind of barking orders. So anyway, I feel passionately about our first product with Charmspring. And yeah, when I say I'm lacking executive functioning,
I don't see that at all.
I definitely get things done, but in a more creative way. I am not like the Google Doc Excel sheet person. I'm learning. But anyway, like there needs to be like organized steps to take to really complete anything in life. And I need help with that. So
ditto. Great. 2 peas in a pod.
I think everyone does. It doesn't just, I don't think you're born with that, are you?
I think some people are, actually. I
Really?
think some people are very organized and also maybe their parents are very organized. And so there is nature and nurture that goes into it. But just having known that I also follow your sister on Instagram. Her art is so beautiful. But knowing what it is to be an artist myself, I can see that like that gene runs really strong in your family. And often, you know, if we see the world differently than others, it does sometimes make the organizing and executing harder. I mean, I have had ADHD since I was a little girl, so I always knew that about myself, but I would never see that in you. So like when I log on to Instagram and I watch your stories and your sweet kids are like so coiffed and they're gorgeous and they're well dressed and they're well behaved and you're well dressed and so high functioning, I would never see that in you. But this is why I love long form content and podcasts in general, because I think, well, of course that is a truth of your experience, but hearing you say from the inside, you actually are not always put together and you're not this picture perfect human being. Like, what a breath of fresh air to like tell your people that, because I'm not sure that we all knew that.
It's so interesting. I think since starting Charmspring, I've talked about it a little bit more just naturally because of the first product relating to that. But like a lot of people have said that, like, really? Like it's almost like they don't believe me. But I think there's different shapes and forms of like organized and creative, right? Like I think you brought up my sister, like all three of us, I think we get things done, but like you would laugh at how we do. Laugh meaning like, oh, like it's not, you know, in that like typical like format. We definitely do like execute, but yeah, and same with my parents actually, right? Like I always say I've said this before, like my mom always got things done, everything, she was always there. We always had our lunch and everything we needed, but like you opened any drawer in our house and it was like a disaster. Like God knows what you'd find in every drawer.
Oh, so it's sort of like you sound like my kids. Like they're fed, they're bathed, they're dressed, they're loved, but don't look in the cabinets. Just don't. Like if you don't want something to fall on you.
Right. Luckily now we do have like friends and support who like specialize in organization. I don't think that existed then. Anyway, that's how you open drawers in my house, and it's not always a mess because I do have friends who have specialized in this who have worked with me. Have
so
you
then
ever had
you
an
lean on
organizer?
community. Yeah. I have had and do have organizers all the time, but it doesn't ever stick. But that's the thing about organizers. Just a heads up on organizers. I do love Monica Fey in case anyone is interested in an organizer. I'll link her. But and she's great, but she'll say, she's like one of the first to say, like, you know, it's not a set it and forget it. Like spring is coming. Like you do have to like get out your like spring clothing. And we live in a small, like we live in an apartment. So it's not like everything can be out all the time.
Right.
Yeah. So you do I need people to come often, and then you have to budget for that, et cetera. But what I'm hearing is that you lean on people who have other skills than you do.
Yes. But that was definitely also a learning process because being someone who's like a bit controlling and had a hard time delegating early in my career until like yesterday. No, I'm kidding. Until more, you know, later on, more recently in my career, that was hard for me. And I almost always have a moment before I delegate where I'm like, wait, why am I trying to do all of this by myself? Like this is something that someone else can help me with, especially when I realize it's not like such a strong suit and I can let go a little bit. And I've definitely leaned on community more and more. I always believed in community since becoming a mom, but more about like connecting and talking and not feeling alone. But throughout, I think, time in the last, you know, since I started my late entrepreneurial career stage, I've seen how it's evolved so much more once I've let go and reached out and leaned on community in the way that I feel like everyone should.
And allowed yourself to be.
Right.
You know,
yes.
Like, you don't have to be perfect.
Exactly.
You don't have to look perfect. You know, and you can be honest with at least the people in your circle to say, like, I actually don't know how to do a spreadsheet. Like, I'm a teacher. That's my training. Not mine. I was speaking in Jenny's voice. I'm an actor. So I'm looking at Amir. By the way, he's our new engineer. We hope Johan is having a great time, and we thank him so much. But Amir's doing a great job holding it down. Mm-hmm. Welcome, my friend. And I'm like, I don't have the technical skills to be holding it down like this. Like, it's okay. Yeah. It's okay to know that, like, you know what? I can't do this without you.
Right. And it's weird. I think we touched on briefly, because Daniella was just a guest on my podcast, about perfectionism. And, you know, I actually used to aspire, like, I thought it was such a good thing to be a so-called perfectionist, really, like, until I kind of saw tendencies in my older daughter and was just like, okay, like, even I think that that's like a good attribute. Mm-hmm. I don't know why I do. Maybe because when I see others that way, I'm like, oh, I want to have everything put together, and not like Pinterest, but like just like everything is in its place type of thing.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I realize how that can permeate to your kids, even if you're like reading all the beautiful oops books and saying like mistakes are good and no one's perfect. Like, they get older and like see through that, and they're like, okay, you're saying that, but yet when you forget our water bottle, like, you end up dropping it off no matter, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm giving an example. Like, we don't always have to drop off the water bottle if we forget it.
Did everyone hear that?
Such a radical thing for me to say.
I really appreciate that, because it's like permission to make a mistake. And then on the other hand is like permission for our children to work through it, you know, to be disappointed in us and to realize that we're not perfect and that we actually are okay with that too, or at least are working towards that.
Yeah.
I was listening to Modern Mom Probs. Shout out to Tara Clark. Love her so much. She's the first episode of this season. And she brought on these two psychologists who said, social media can be really hard on parents for many reasons. And one of them said, well, I used to look at all of these parenting blogs and look at the perfect children and the perfect marriage and the perfect, family and really feel bad about myself. And she said, I was the blogger who would make sure that my children were gorgeous looking and that I had all the right answers and that the parties were just so, and I was suffering too. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was the first time I had ever really considered, because I'm more in the camp number one, right? Where I would just be like, I can't live up to that.
Which is such an amazing, like, you know, thing to message and believe and communicate honestly.
Honesty. I do have a superpower in being honest, but it also is very uncomfortable when you're met with, well, if that's the standard that I can't live up to, even my being honest is a fall from grace. That said, I had never considered from the mommy blogger's perspective or from the Instagrammer's perspective that, like, actually that's not
it's not real.
Possible.
Without
of course it's not real.
Suffering.
Right.
Truly. Yourself, you're somewhere.
Yeah. I thought that was such a beautiful take on, well, we're all going through something.
Yes, I do too. I wish that more people would be like open and honest like that. Myself included, I've just started maybe today openly talking about that. No, I'm kidding.
Welcome.
I think
You're welcome.
Since we didn't turn out okay, I think was my way of being like, we can pretend we're like perfectly okay, and not in a negative way where we're all like doomed to not be okay, but just like we got to realize that there's areas to not be okay.
Yeah.
To grow, to be, to live, to be a good parent, like all of it, to be a good person. And so I think that's helped me not aspire to be perfect, not try to pretend I am, in order for people to like want to listen to what I have to, like, I don't know. I had theories.
I mean, we all grew up in, you know, a sort of glossy idea of what a celebrity or influential person or thought leader would look like. I'm not sure that they would have to sustain that for years, every single day, because, you know, when we would listen to celebrities or to thought leaders or to authors or to people growing up, like, they would be interviewed in a magazine.
Right.
They would be photographed. They would write the book. They would go on a tour. And yeah, they would look real good. And they would, you know, present themselves in a certain way. But after years and years of social media, there is just, at some point, we can't be that version of ourselves. For me, I never wanted to be, but I don't know that I do think that there is something to like an elevated look and feel that does make people want to listen to you.
I know.
And you have something of quality to say. Yeah. I do think that's, you know, that like, that's an important part of storytelling.
Yeah. Right. And but it's also why it's like such a kind of like slippery slope, right? Like, for instance, yesterday, like, you know, because I believe that too a little bit, or just like as I'm sharing a little bit more about like the real human, you know, and people being so surprised by it. Something like yesterday when I was really off grid, had to drive out to secure stuff for summer and things like that. And I wasn't able to be on social at all. And it like literally like 1/4 of me was like, this is so nice. But the 3/4 of me was like, oh, I have to be sharing, like that there's no content plan, you know? And had I been sharing, it probably would have been like imperfectness, like hair wet, getting in the car, like forgetting Nell's share, having to email them, can you print this picture? Like, and that probably would have been as valuable, honestly. Of course, not getting in a car accident, I can't do it while I'm driving, but I'm just saying instead I just was like, I'm not going to share.
Also good.
Right.
Also within your rights.
Exactly.
Because you're a person first.
Yes.
Good on you for being off grid.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's
and
just
thank
like
you for the work you do in this world. I really love those. I really love those classes in the Hamptons. I think they're so beautiful, and what you offer those children is really so beautiful. And yeah, exactly. But just that struggle, right? Like you were saying, people are like, look all done for a book tour, this or that, and like it used to be that in between, like they go and live their life. Messy bun, whatever it is. Now it's like getting my coffee in between, like, you know, it's like, it's a real thing. And we have to like set our own personal like boundaries and parameters around that, I think, to live. Well, I think probably there's a driving force within you that is really dying to get the information out into the world.
Yes.
And I wonder what that information is and what that driving force is, because I think it's great that you're having these boundaries. I think it's great sometimes to go off grid.
Yes.
But I'm really curious about that part of you. There's a shadow part for sure, and we can talk about that till the cows come home. But the real pure essence of like wanting to share about parenthood, what is that drive for you?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's changed shape now that my kids are a little bit older. Initially, as you know, from working with me at Union Square Play, you know, when they were younger, it was just like this, like literal spiritual, like higher power. I need to share what it's like to really explore and see and be with the magic of babies. These humans that are born that we think are like just so hard to figure out, which often they are, but that like, we grow with them, we create relationships with them, we can talk to them, even if they're not, all the things that just still make me want to cry of just such passion.
Me too, I'm right there with you. I love it so much.
And then over time, and you know, play ideas and all that, and over time, I still love all that. And then now it's a lot of, I think, what parenthood turns into, especially as they get older. I have a 5 and 7-year-old. About, and not even in like an ego way, but how badly you want to be better for yourself is what I now feel so compelled with. And there's things I'm doing a little bit working on like personally that I'm sure I'll share down the line right now for that. of course, now I'll get emotional, that I feel passionate about sharing at the right time and in the right way. Like, yeah, just this like unexplored territory about how, we have to, like, I even have talked about, like, you know, really wrap our heads around the parts where we're not okay or where we should work on, because if we don't, I think it's like a disservice to our kids. I really do.
And to ourselves.
Yes, for sure. First and foremost.
Yeah, like I have a Dr. Tanya Cutler who is in this season also on. And when we talked about her work, essentially at some point I asked her, like, what is a good mother? And she was like, oh my gosh, you know, I've been on so many different podcasts and no one has ever asked me that. And I told her, honestly, you know what, Tanya? That's all we're ever asking a child psychologist is like, how do I do it right? Like, what do I do? And she said something so beautiful, and it took her a while to answer because really it's a trick question. She said something where she was just like, if we can tune into our own self and mother ourself and that child inside ourself, we have a great shot at mothering our children.
Yeah.
So it sounds like that's what you're up to these days. And sharing that part, or is it more,
figuring out really how to, like, you know, instead of just like putting out content, like I think it's woven in a little bit recently, just sharing about Nell, my younger, being very strong-willed, but through the lens of, like, I added a story to it, you know, all the value of having a strong-willed kid. But then in the story, it was like, you know, I would be out and about with my friends and their kids, and Nell would be having a hard time in her strong-willed way. And I would be thinking, like, my friends are probably like, well, Jenny has done something wrong or something like that. And that's not okay for me to be thinking about myself when, like, I really believe a strong-willed kid is like a leader in the making. And what is it that's triggering me to think negatively about myself when my child's like communicating in a way that, yes, means like she's still working on tools and all the things. So I shared that. So meaning, like, it's not going to be this obvious, like, now we're going to work on ourselves, guys, but just my content is what I'm always going through. So I just think people will see more and more of that simultaneously alongside, you know, the launch of the podcast, which is about how we didn't turn out okay and how that can help us with our parenting. So yeah, I think all of it collectively where I'm at now is going to be like woven in, but just, that I'm doing more and more work on myself.
You know what's so interesting is that right around the time that I launched this podcast was when I felt exactly how you feel.
Really?
Well, just totally cracked open.
Yeah.
Because in holding space for mothers and, like, actually really asking them things that I need to know for myself, I felt like I was going through a major transformation right in front of my audience.
Yeah.
And it was vulnerable and vital, and it was my job. It is my job. And I was the one who was holding space for these conversations, and yet a large part of me was also needing their guidance in a way that I didn't expect. I thought we were going to be eye to eye, and in many ways we were, but there was a part of me that was asking for advice on air.
Yes.
And then there was another part of me that was broadcasting similar to, I think, the way you're broadcasting, like, I didn't turn out okay.
Yeah.
Like, what you're saying to the world is,
right,
this is my podcast because I want you to know that, like, I am successful, and I am beautiful, and I am proud of these things, and I want you to know it. Like, that's what art does. Is like, that's what creativity does. It's like, it allows the subconscious to be conscious.
Yes.
To say, like, I'm not okay just like you're not okay.
Yeah.
And that's got to be okay, because we're all human beings. Because if Nell gets to be strong-willed and act a fool, then, like, ditto me.
Right.
I get to like,
Yeah.
I get to live out loud also.
Yes.
And they're teaching us that, our kids.
Absolutely. And just, I think so much of what you just said, but the last part, what you said about Nell, just because I'll respond to that. When she does do that, it is so radically different from the kid that I was. And we, of course, shouldn't compare, but it just, I think of it, maybe not in the moment, just that I could never. I was this like always listening. And there wasn't anything I remember inside of me being like, I have to listen to get love, or all the things that you think from a kid who's always like good. And, you know, they say like, worry about the kids that are always good. I don't know if you hear that. Like those are the kids
I don't have to worry about those kids. I wasn't that kid.
Right.
I don't have those kids.
So they say that. I'm always like, but I was that kid. And I don't remember suffering or thinking if I'm bad, this or that. But subconsciously, I'm sure I was like, this is my role. Like, I don't ruffle feathers. And the kids that aren't like me, I'm like, how could they do that? Like, I remember thinking and judging that, but I'm sure there was subconscious like that was who I had to be. So when Nell does this, I'm actually grappling with like the really hard time we're both having. But I'm also like, she is such a boss.
I know, bless her. She was born that way with that big head of hair. She was just like, I'm here.
Like, exactly. Like, unapologetically.
Even her pregnancy story, you know, that we talked about on IVF. I think it was like the 3rd or 4th episode of Mom Curious podcast. But she was like, I'm here.
Right.
Whether you're ready for me or not.
Yes. And so, yeah, like, but when you were saying that when you started your podcast and would hear, you know, from people and thought that I don't remember how you put it, but then you realized like you were looking for advice, you know, and gaining that.
And their wisdom. And
yes.
I was like,
you're like a sponge when you do this. Yeah.
It is. And also it's long form content.
Right.
So it's not just like a minute. I mean, I think there's like certainly some soul searching that needs to be done. Every time you share so beautifully, you have a beautiful sense of storytelling and visual, like a visual sense. Like it's really beautiful. And I know that there is soul searching that goes on in that retelling and in that education. But sitting down for a full hour, if we talk about honesty, if we talk about messy, if we talk about not being able to be perfect, it is with two women. I was going to say mothers, but sometimes I don't. I interview people who are
I
thought
you were going to say, but sometimes I like forget that that's who I am.
No, but but like it's nearly impossible to hold it together for that long.
Yes.
The mask cannot.
Right.
It has to fall, and I think like at some point in this like glossy time, you know, where we're wanting so badly to tell the world about what we believe about babies and toddlers and children. Mm-hmm. We want to get that out. I think there also needs to be like the moment of like, settling, being real. And that's where you're really in it.
So in it.
You're so in it. And you're so in it with other women, like really in it. How many episodes are you in?
It's so in it that what you just said, like, I'm shocked that I haven't like gotten to this like point sooner. I've always been open, honest, and vulnerable, even though I didn't think it would start that way. Soon after, the day after I had Tess, I was like, okay, this is going straight from like, this is how you play with your baby to like, God, I like have no idea what I'm doing. And I'm shocked. And I feel for the people who didn't study early. Anyway. But yes, all the things you said, I'm just surprised that I haven't done even more soul searching till now.
Endless.
Yeah, I know it's always there. But like, I think back, I'm like, how did I build anything without, like, to me, it seems impossible now to build anything without deep soul searching.
But you're just a deep.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, I think a person who gets so enthralled with like little babies.
Right. I guess you're right.
I feel like
yeah.
You are just a little special person.
Right.
So how'd you get to be so special? Can you tell us about your family of origin? I don't actually know much.
Thank you
after all these
putting
years.
It that way. Yes. So meaning like my immediate family, right?
Yeah.
So
where'd you grow up?
I grew up at the Jersey Shore.
So that's why you're such a beach baby?
Yes. Oh, for sure.
Like if I think of you, you're in a bathing suit. Is that why?
That's my happy uniform.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Which comes with its own set of so much. I just found like my diary from when my parents moved out of our house after 30 years, like a year ago. And I just found the diary. I was looking for something. And anyway, so much about insecurity with my body.
And bathing suits?
Yeah, like it's crazy. From when I was 12 years old, like every page was like wishes and every page, whatever. This is a whole other thing. Anyway, yes, I love bathing suits.
This was a little clip of adolescence for you?
Yes. I love bathing suits because I grew up on the beach for sure. But it's funny that how my parents ended up there. My dad was born in Israel.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Right outside of Tel Aviv. And him and his parents and brother moved to Montreal, where my grandfather's brother was at the time, for just opportunity and whatnot. And so my dad grew up in Montreal after he moved at age 2-3 as a Canadian citizen his whole life. And he was on vacation in Florida. And my mom, who grew up in North Jersey, and they fell in love. She tried Montreal. She was at BU, graduated, and he's like, come move to Montreal. She's like, I don't understand French. Like, I feel left out. No, we can't live here.
It really is so French. It's shocking.
Yeah, and
French.
It was even more than, I think. But yes, it is shockingly.
Every time.
Yeah.
And I've been many
always
times
surprised.
to Montreal. I'm like, wow, we're really doing this. Right. It's really happening.
Yes. Anyway, they fast forward. My dad's like, okay, I'll move to New Jersey, but like if it's not a city, like we have to find like a beach. And so my mom had summered her whole life, like Asbury Park, Long Branch area. So they found a town called Ocean Township, and that's where they raised us. And me and my two sisters were all 4 years apart. It took my mom a while in between.
Wow.
I'm the middle.
Oh,
and
well, now we know
like the sage. Yeah, everyone
now
needs.
Now we know why you need to like follow all the rules.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. My husband's also a middle child.
Really? What are you?
The youngest. Yeah.
Yeah, it all makes sense.
Birth order is real.
What's your zodiac?
I'm a Virgo, which is very strange because I ought to be really organized, but
I don't know all
know
the attributes of each sign, but some of them I do.
But in terms of birth order, I'm the baby.
Baby.
Yeah. I act.
And you have how many?
My brother is 10 years older than me. My sister is 7 years older than me. And so I was almost raised like an only child of 3.
Yeah.
Total. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I like say that, or I've been told by them that I was sort of like the peacemaker. I don't remember like competition with my sisters. I say that because my kids are so competitive with each other and their sisters. I don't remember that at all. I do remember like fights and things like that, but I never remember being like jealous of them or competitive. I think that's my view. Honestly, I think it was different for them. I think the middle often comes with that. I don't know why. That's what I've told myself because it's always something I've explored in the work I do. Anyway, and my sister's everything to me, my parents, everything, like the warmest. Yeah. My mom definitely was like a martyr mom, stay-at-home mom, was a teacher, but quit to raise us.
Wow.
And I say a martyr mom. She would say it too.
Really?
Yeah. We've like bonded over it. Like where now if I leave my kids and they're crying, she's like, oh, I would have never left. I'm like, I know, Mom.
That's why I'm doing it. That's exactly why I'm doing it.
Right. And my dad, we could do no wrong. Like we were like his porcelain dolls. So all the loving, but like also I am like very self-aware of like what can come with, like there's this book by Wendy Mogul, like something about the skinned knee. I'm not even like trying to promote anything. Like you need to let your kids get a skinned knee sometimes is like the whole thing. My parents didn't.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Not even about risk taking and like getting hurt, but just like didn't want it to protect us from like anything negative.
And you don't do that.
No, but it took a lot of like, yeah, you're right.
Years
I had to do a lot of soul searching just in the work I do. Yeah.
To like not protect your children from just being children.
Right. Or like it's okay to disappoint them or to like, it's not mean to set boundaries and like, yeah.
Yeah.
Or to forget or to not bring the water bottle. Oh, my mom would never not bring the water bottle.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't relate.
Right? It's so interesting.
I'm the youngest by quite a lot, like
the water bottle was never in the bag.
Exactly. My mom was like, you got saliva?
Right. Water fountain.
Do they have water at the place?
Mind you, we grew up at a time with no water bottles, but yes.
Really? No, I mean, and she is a great mom and a very, involved mother still today. Like today, she's coming with me to the event space that I'm having our event later in the month, and she's just there because she has the time, and why not help out? She wants to be right there, and she didn't offer the water bottle every time. Sometimes she'd forget it. Sometimes she'd yell about forgetting it because she'd be so upset. Anyway. And also, I am forgetful. I am really forgetful. Anyway, if we're offering you lots of different options here, dear listener.
Yeah.
It's all good.
You can have every type of upbringing and parent, but it all comes down to we can grow and learn. No one's perfect. No parent's perfect.
We didn't turn out okay. It's such an interesting, it's always interesting. And I think you are always touching on the title in every episode. You say that you mention it and then you edit it out, but that it is amusing on how well we didn't turn out okay, and yet there was everything,
right.
all the trappings of a beautiful. Mm-hmm. And it's also, we can't escape living life.
Right.
Being alive.
Yes. People are like, wait, it's called We Didn't Turn Out Okay? I'm like, yes, I mean more if we think we did, that we are just okay. There's no work that we do, right? If we're just I'm good. It's not like we didn't turn out okay and we need to really be negative and morose about it. I just more mean let's figure out. It could be as simple as we hate messes or whatever it is, but just we should kind of scratch the surface of some of that to grow.
Yeah, I think you do such a good job of it. By the time this airs, it'll be in September.
Oh, wow.
I know, we're really shooting
very busy.
We're very busy. And by that time, how many episodes have you already shot?
I aired, or I don't know if you say aired, 13 are out in the world.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and then I have an Excel sheet somewhere with how many we have been recorded, maybe 20.
That's amazing.
So definitely not out through September, but yeah, excited to maybe get to that spot.
I love that. With Charmspring, you keep talking about it being the first product. Are there other products down the road?
Yeah. Not going to say too much other than because there's nothing
Set in stone?
Yeah. Work is being done, creative, exciting things. But yes, it was always going to be the first of what we hope will be many products that help families, unlock more magic by making lives easier is the premise of anything that we're going to create. And so, yes, there's lots of things that we could do with that mission. And I'm really excited to be able to do that.
We love our Charmspring.
Good.
We put on these boards, you can customize them for your children. So you can, my children's names are Ness and Paz, and so we have their lines and all the things that they get to do when they come home and in the morning. And it does make for a more easeful interaction.
Good.
I still hound them.
Right. I mean,
that is real. But the reason why is because, and you touched on it earlier, and I think it's worth noting, if my kid is having a hard time at school, they don't want to go to school. They don't want to get dressed.
Right.
They don't want to.
They don't want to reach that next step.
They don't want to go. Or, and I think and we have to send our children to school. Right. That's actually a law. And I have to get here to work, So I just want to say that if we are in a situation where there is that power struggle or that tug of war, it's likely because there's something going on underneath.
Yes. Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're going to solve it right then and there.
Right.
But you said it earlier, minutes into the podcast, and I thought it was a really important note, which is you're probably nagging them because they're these are their bids for connection. They want you to say pause until you actually like see them.
Right.
They just want to be seen just like the rest of us. Just like we were saying, like, you know, we name our podcasts for the world to see what we want to tell them. We create the products or the spaces or the art. Our children, this is what they create. They create a vibe.
Absolutely. And there's something that you said there, though, that I do think can help, you know, in terms of course, I'm going to just say the springboard with that element of feeling seen and heard. You know, I think when your child's struggling or kind of not cooperating and we're like, okay, it's because they don't want to go to school. The tools we have available are either, you know, we get like triggered and frustrated, or we're like, okay, I'm going to hunker down, sit down, and like, even if we're late, whatever it is. There's a few different options, but let's just go with those.
I go with being late, and you can hear that all about that on Jenny's podcast.
Or something in between, like, I hear you, but we have to go, blah, blah, blah. So I know that there's like maybe, let's say, 3 options. What I think the springboard does is take everyone out of the struggle, and like, it's this like joint attention object of, all right, let's sit down and figure out, what do you want to do next that will feel better about getting to school? Even though I really hear you don't want to go. Should we put in a little bit of playtime here? We can't always do that. Or should we put in walk the dog? Or should we put in scooter and we'll scooter to the bus stop? I think having like a visual, not you, guiding that and giving choices opens them up a little bit. So I've used it a lot for things like that. It's maybe not like the most obvious thing. You know, the obvious thing is like, do all these things and meet me at the door.
Yeah. Do it.
Yeah. There's your guide. But I do think for especially my kids, I need to do a little bit more work there. And even if it's like every Sunday, let's like sit for 10 minutes and build it out. Every time they then look at the board throughout the week, they remember that connection time that we had. I make it fun, even if it's just on a Sunday and not every day. It reminds them of the connection time, right? Like, it's not like giving your kid a sheet and being like, follow this and meet me there. Like, that's not what the board is for.
Yeah. It's you create it together.
Yeah.
You seem to have those connection times so often.
No. I will say.
It's so sweet. No?
We do. Yes, we do. But I just don't want people to think that it's like you do that every day. Yes, no, I do. Sometimes they're like, Mom, I don't want to talk. I'm like, okay. But yes, I do. I do try to do that because I think they're full of so much that they don't even realize, you know, is all in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a very, like, what's the word? Cerebral person. Is that the word?
You're a smart lady. Yeah, you're a cerebral
I don't
person.
mean it smart, like just a thinker and like.
Analytical, for sure.
Yeah.
You're like that psychology degree. You're putting
I guess.
That's all.
Yeah. But I'd say that you're also like maybe a spiritual.
I'm spiritual, yeah. I'm also, working on my own stuff around like, I can be so reactive. And I don't know that that's ever going to go away. I don't know. I do feel like when I am in conversation with people like you who are, you're so thoughtful. And you are so respectful of your children. It's like I get to slow down when I am immersive in that experience with friends who feel the same way, like let them be kids. But I can be really reactive for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's a step though.
Just knowing that.
Yeah. I will also say that I and every human out there are reactive too, but I didn't think that would be helpful for you to hear, so I didn't go there.
I do think that I share it because I do think that most people listening can relate.
Yes.
I think they can
Even
relate.
me.
I think most of us like really have high hopes for the way we'll parent, and sometimes they're fulfilled and sometimes they're really not.
Right.
Sometimes you're just screaming, James, Shirley, Wilbur, what's your name?
Yes. And honestly, that's like an added trigger to it, that when we're not, fulfilling kind of what we envisioned, it makes us even more frustrated than probably what we already are. We're like, I had this fantasy of how this would go.
Yeah, and
you're making it not go that way.
Totally, and we talked about that on your show, and I do hope you guys pop over and listen, because we talked about that, like that sometimes the ideals of respectful parenting or gentle parenting can be like a whipping stick onto our own selves, and if that's the case, then put it down. Just put it down.
Agree.
Just put it down. Because it's that it only agitates the system, meaning your nervous system, and then the system of your family more, which was the case for me for sure. So I do feel like
that's added to it often. Yeah. And you're right. There's many whipping sticks we have to put down
on ourselves.
Yeah.
Back to the idea of being a good mother to the little one inside of us.
Yes. Yeah.
First and foremost.
Yeah, there's so many moments throughout the day that I was like, if I just like put down this like toxic thought or whatever, and like I breathe. Yeah. So I'm going to call it a whipping stick.
A whipping stick? Yeah.
To put down.
Yes, to put it down. We can't be so hard on ourselves. Final thoughts. Have we covered it all, or is there more? I'm sure there's more, because
always more.
Maybe I'll just pop on over again. You'll come over here.
There's always more, but I want to give a final thought about the reactive thing, that there's always room for like rewiring and changing things. And like what has helped me with being reactive, which I swear that I am, is
no one believes you.
Instead of just like keep, kind of going back to what's making me reactive, I try to take a moment when I remember it and be like, there's something there that always makes me reactive. And I try to just kind of do some like troubleshooting around it. And then like you have an aha moment the next time you're going to be reactive. It's not always easy to access in the reactive moment, but like, yeah, there's always like a room for rewiring. And that, takes a little to realize or to kind of do the work for, but just always here to help if like, you're like, I'm always reactive about this thing. Anyway, I like learned so much from you, believe it or not, and like the open honesty, it helps me grow. Like this whipping stick thing, I'm going to think about all the time. Like this feels like a whipping stick. I'm just going to let it.
I would never do that to someone else.
Right.
Never. And I would certainly never do that to my children. As reactive as I am,
right.
I wouldn't keep going like, you didn't do a good job, you didn't do a good job, you didn't do a good job. And if I did, I would say, oh God, I'm so sorry.
Exactly.
That's my own stuff, babe. You are such a great, great little person, and I'm so proud to be your mom. And if we could do that for ourselves.
Huge. Yeah.
They say it's all an inside job. I do think it is huge. Yeah. Anyway, I do learn so much from you. Where can we learn more?
You can follow me at Jenny Moness. And you can check out the visual routine boards that we touched on at charmspring.com or visit us at Union Square Play in the city. Thank you so
And listen to
much.
your podcast.
Oh my God, I keep forgetting because it's new. And listen to my podcast, but also the episode that Daniella was on is really amazing. We Didn't Turn Out Okay, available anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I really hope you enjoyed that conversation with Jenny Moness, and you can follow her at Jenny Moness on Instagram. You can also listen to her podcast, We Didn't Turn Out Okay, on all podcast platforms. Do keep an eye out for our conversation, which I think was really juicy and fun. I will link it here. I'm at Daniella Rabbani on Instagram and at Mom Curious on Instagram, and I would love to connect with you over there. We are at Hoff Studios. A big thank you to our amazing producers here and our executive producer, Laura Lucetti, who is just the best. She's just the freaking best. As always, as I mentioned, my beautiful sister, Ariana Rabbani Rapaporte, passed away earlier this year, and we are really asking that everyone do an act of kindness today in her honor. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next week.